Amber Heard. Amber Heard's career was a slow build until it suddenly wasn't. Early appearances in Pineapple Express and Zombieland gave her some visibility, but it was 2018's Aquaman that launched her into stardom. Playing Mera, the fierce warrior queen, she became part of a billion-dollar franchise almost overnight. But just as her profile reached its peak, her personal life detonated. In December 2018, Heard published a Washington Post op-ed describing herself as a survivor of domestic abuse. While she didn't mention Johnny Depp by name, the connection was unmistakable, and the timing, just days before Aquaman's release, didn't go unnoticed. The fallout would take years to fully unfold. Depp responded with a defamation lawsuit, leading to the 2022 courtroom showdown that turned into a media circus watched around the world. The verdict may have been mixed, but in the court of public opinion, Heard lost badly. TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter drowned in memes mocking her testimony. The hashtag AmberTurd went viral for weeks. Analysts later uncovered bot networks amplifying pro-Depp narratives, but by then, the damage was irreversible. Her role in the Aquaman sequel reflected the shift. Reports suggested her screen time had been slashed to under 10 minutes. She was largely absent from trailers, press events, and merchandise campaigns. The film itself earned $440 million, less than half of the original's take, and far below DC's expectations. Outside of the DC universe, Heard's career flatlined. The indie thriller In the Fire barely registered, and no major projects are on the horizon. She has since relocated to Spain, reportedly to escape relentless US media attention, and is working only on smaller European productions. Ironically, her career struggles existed even before the trial. Films like Drive Angry and London Fields flopped hard, while even The Rum Diary, the project where she first met Depp, failed financially. Aquaman was the rare hit in her filmography. The trial, however, didn't just stall her momentum, it effectively erased her from Hollywood. Heard's association with the Me Too movement, through her op-ed, was intended to be empowering. Instead, it triggered a chain reaction that transformed her into one of the most polarizing figures in modern pop culture, and in the eyes of many studios, box office poison. Rachel Zegler. Rachel Zegler's career took off at lightning speed. She went from uploading YouTube covers to winning a Golden Globe for West Side Story before even turning 21. Chosen by Steven Spielberg out of 30,000 hopefuls, she became the face of a classic revival. Critics celebrated her, awards followed, but fame quickly turned into a double-edged sword. Zegler's off-screen presence soon became her biggest challenge. Spielberg's West Side Story may have earned praise, but financially, it stumbled, making just $76 million on a $100 million budget. Even so, Hollywood welcomed her with open arms. In rapid succession, she secured parts in Shazam, Fury of the Gods, The Hunger Games prequel, and Disney's live-action Snow White, 4 blockbuster franchises in as many years. But one remark shifted everything. While promoting Snow White, she publicly criticized the 1937 original, dismissing the prince as a guy who literally stalks her, and declaring that her version wouldn't be about being rescued, but about becoming a leader. To many, this sounded less like an opinion and more like an attack on Disney tradition. Conservative outlets pounced, YouTube was flooded with takedown clips, and David Hand, son of the original film's director, called the remake insulting. The backlash hit just as the numbers turned sour. Shazam 2 barely broke even, bringing in $134 million against a $125 million budget. Snow White was an outright disaster, over $270 million spent, but just $22.8 million worldwide. Even a Mother's Day re-release only managed $335,000 across 1,300 theaters, averaging around 17 people per screening for an entire weekend. Zegler's own words didn't help. A clip surfaced of her saying she only took the Shazam role because I needed a job, which many online painted as ungrateful. Then came politics. While working with Israeli actress Gal Gadot, she voiced support for Palestine, something Disney executives reportedly warned her about. Her Gen Z, unfiltered TikTok-style communication clicked with young fans online, but clashed with the carefully polished image studios expect from franchise leads. The result? Hollywood cooled off. Beyond Snow White, no major new roles are lined up. What started as one of the fastest ascents in modern Hollywood has become a cautionary tale of how quickly momentum can vanish when a studio's rebranding strategy hinges too heavily on one actress. Brie Larson. Brie Larson's climb to the top of Hollywood was swift, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. She transitioned from sitcom supporting roles to winning an Academy Award, and eventually became the face of Marvel's boldest identity shift, all in less than 10 years. But every step upward brought her closer to cultural landmines, and she ended up stepping on more than one. Her breakthrough came with Room in 2015, a performance so powerful it earned her the Oscar. Overnight, she went from indie favorite to A-list talent. Hollywood studios noticed immediately, and Marvel made their move. In 2019, she entered the MCU as Carol Danvers in Captain Marvel, the franchise's first female-led superhero film. The payoff? Over $1.1 billion at the global box office. But controversy soon followed. During the press tour for Captain Marvel, Brie doubled down on inclusivity in media coverage. Her now famous remark, "I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time," ignited a storm online. To some, she wasn't just promoting her film, she was dictating who the audience should be. The internet erupted. YouTube filled with anti-Brie videos, Reddit threads piled on, and Rotten Tomatoes had to change its review system after a flood of targeted review bombing. Still, the movie thrived at the box office, yet Marvel adjusted its strategy. In Avengers Endgame, her screen time was noticeably reduced, her promotional push toned down. She was still present, just less central. Then came the Marvels in 2023. Despite a budget north of $270 million, it opened with only $26 million worldwide, one of the MCU's most crushing failures. Once again, Brie became the lightning rod for blame. But the reality was more complicated. A muddled storyline, no clear villain, reliance on Disney Plus homework, and a lack of cast promotion during the 2023 actors' strike. Even Disney's own CEO pointed to creative missteps, not Larson herself. Still, perception is powerful, and Brie remained the scapegoat. By 2025, her tone toward critics had hardened. When asked about the backlash, she refused to engage, saying, "By continuing this conversation, you're tying me to something that has nothing to do with me." Her publicist promptly ended the interview. From indie darling to billion-dollar powerhouse to cultural lightning rod, Brie Larson didn't just star in the era of so-called wokeness, she became its frontline symbol. Lena Dunham. Lena Dunham wasn't just a writer or performer for a moment, she was a cultural lightning rod. Her HBO series Girls, which ran from 2012 to 2017, captured the millennial experience in a raw, messy, and unapologetically personal way. It won multiple Emmys and made her the face of a new kind of storytelling, but the very things that made her stand out also fueled relentless criticism. Dunham wrote, directed, and starred in the show, embodying Hannah Horvath, a character widely seen as self-absorbed, privileged, and blind to her own contradictions. Viewers were divided. Some praised the honesty, others despised the entitlement. Critics also pointed out the obvious. A Brooklyn-set series with an all-white lead cast felt tone-deaf. Dunham acknowledged the oversight, but the damage was already there. After Girls, her momentum faltered. HBO gave her another chance with Camping in 2018, but the series was a flop and cancelled after a single season. She returned to filmmaking with Sharpstick and Catherine Called Birdie, but neither made an impact. Sharpstick grossed a mere $68,000, and Catherine went straight to streaming, leaving no mark at the box office. Off-screen controversies deepened the cracks. In 2017, Dunham defended Girls writer Murray Miller after he was accused of sexual assault, labeling it one of the rare false reports, a claim she later retracted after fierce backlash. The move clashed with her feminist image and widened her credibility gap. Other moments added fuel. Her memoir included passages about childhood behavior with her sister that were branded inappropriate. A remark on her podcast about wishing she'd had an abortion drew outrage. An anecdote about NFL star Odell Beckham Jr. implying he judged her for her looks at a gala was met with ridicule. Each controversy chipped away at her reputation. Because her art was so closely tied to her personal life, every misstep blurred the line between Lena the creator and Lena the headline. When the audience moved on, there was no role or project to shield her, just Lena Dunham, with an industry that had grown tired of listening. Kelly Marie Tran. Kelly Marie Tran's Hollywood journey is a mix of breakthrough success and harsh backlash. When she appeared as Rose Tico in 2017's Star Wars: The Last Jedi, she made history as the first Asian woman to take on a leading role in the saga. It was a huge win for representation, but it also placed her directly in the crossfire of one of the franchise's most divisive chapters. The movie itself was a massive box office success, bringing in over $1.3 billion worldwide, but fan reactions were split down the middle. Some criticized Rose's subplot as weak, but what followed went far beyond storytelling critiques. Tran endured relentless online harassment filled with racist and sexist abuse. It became so overwhelming that she eventually wiped her Instagram posts. Her role in the next installment, The Rise of Skywalker, 2019, told the story of how badly the backlash stuck. On screen, her character's presence was slashed to under 90 seconds. Officially, the studio claimed it was due to difficulties blending her with unused Carrie Fisher footage, but Tran later revealed she had filmed significant scenes that never made it in. To fans and media, it looked like a retreat, a studio caving to toxic fandom pressure. After Star Wars, Tran shifted towards safer ground, voice acting. She starred as Raya in Disney's Raya and the Last Dragon, the studio's first Southeast Asian princess. Film received strong reviews but, with a pandemic-era release, grossed a modest $130 million worldwide. She also appeared in The Croods: A New Age 2020, which did fine but wasn't a standout. Notably, both were animated roles far from the live-action spotlight she once had. What's more telling is what didn't happen. There were no big franchise follow-ups, no return to major live-action leads. Her visibility in front of the camera dropped sharply. Tran did use her platform to speak out. In 2018, she wrote a New York Times op-ed titled, "I Won't Be Marginalized by Online Harassment," framing her experience as part of a broader fight for representation and inclusion. It was powerful and widely praised, but the industry didn't respond with new opportunities. Kelly Marie Tran didn't flop financially. She appeared in billion-dollar blockbusters. But the cultural cost of her casting proved high, and studios decided to minimize risk, quietly moving her out of the spotlight. Elliot Page. Elliot Page was once one of Hollywood's most bankable young stars. His breakout came with Juno in 2007, which made him an indie icon. By 2010, Inception proved he could carry his weight in a blockbuster, and his role as Kitty Pryde in the X-Men films cemented his status in the superhero world. But everything changed after 2020, when Page came out as transgender, and Hollywood's response shifted dramatically. His announcement was groundbreaking. He became the first openly trans man to grace the cover of Time magazine, sharing his journey with honesty and vulnerability, but professionally the momentum slowed. Since then, no major studio films, no high-profile franchise deals, just his continuing role in Netflix's The Umbrella Academy. The show adapted his character's transition to mirror his real life, but its overall viewership has steadily declined season by season. It's not a question of talent. Before transitioning, Page starred in both critical and commercial hits. Juno made over $230 million on a $7.5 million budget. Inception soared past $800 million. X-Men Days of Future Past brought in $746 million. Page had range, charm, and box office appeal. But since 2020, Hollywood's silence has been deafening. His first post-transition film, Close to You, was a small indie project with a limited release. It didn't generate buzz, box office data was negligible, and the movie passed quietly. The reaction wasn't rejection, it was invisibility. Unlike other actors criticized for activism or blunt interviews, Page's backlash isn't about something he said, it's about who he islanded. Figures like Jordan Peterson publicly misgendered him, with Peterson even being suspended from Twitter for his attacks. In his memoir Page Boy, Elliot revealed that his own father had liked a transphobic post targeting him. While industry support has been polite, it hasn't been proactive. Page has leaned further into advocacy, writing, and producing. His work now lives more on the cultural margins than the Hollywood mainstream. Elliot Page's story stands apart. His struggle isn't tied to a box office flop or controversial interviews, it's rooted in identity. And in an industry that prides itself on diversity, the silence around him speaks volumes. Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Phoebe Waller-Bridge was once seen as one of Hollywood's smartest bets. Her series Fleabag wasn't just a success, it was a cultural moment. Winning 6 Emmys and praised for its sharp writing and inventive fourth-wall breaks, the show cemented her as a fresh, subversive voice in television. But when that style was applied to legacy franchises, the results were far less celebrated. Her first big studio outing came in 2018, when she voiced the droid L3-37 inches Solo, a Star Wars story. The character was written as a politically charged, outspoken robot, advocating for droid rights, even paired with romantic tension toward Lando Calrissian. For traditional fans, the tone felt jarring, and the movie became the first Star Wars film to lose money, racking up a $77 million deficit. Still, Hollywood wasn't done with her. In 2021, she was brought on as a script doctor for No Time to Die, tasked with modernizing James Bond for the post-Me Too era. While Daniel Craig praised her as a great writer, Waller-Bridge later admitted many of her ideas were cut for being too camp or too misogynistic. The headlines framed her involvement as a diversity hire, and her actual influence remained unclear. Then came Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny in 2023, cast as Helena Shaw, Indy's goddaughter. She wasn't just clever and capable, she often drove more of the plot than Indiana Jones himself. Fans accused the film of sidelining a beloved male hero in favor of a smug, unlikable replacement. Online criticism branded it as another example of a woke agenda. Financially, the movie underperformed, grossing $384 million against a $387 million budget, with Disney losing over $130 million once marketing was factored in. The issue wasn't Waller-Bridge's talent. Her brilliance shines in deconstruction, irony, and self-awareness. That style electrified Fleabag. But when applied to nostalgic, straight-faced franchises like Star Wars and Indiana Jones, it clashed. Fans wanted sincerity and legacy, not reinvention. Her rumored Bond spin-off has since been shelved, though her Amazon deal remains in place. For now, no new major roles are on the horizon. The message seems clear. While Waller-Bridge thrives as a creative disruptor, Hollywood doesn't always welcome disruption when it comes to its sacred icons. Jameela Jamil. Jameela Jamil first captured attention playing Tahani on The Good Place, a role that mixed elegance with insecurity and won her fans for her comedic timing. The show was both a critical hit and a cultural favorite, introducing her to American audiences as more than just an actress but as a voice. What came next, however, shifted her career away from acting and toward activism, with mixed results. After The Good Place wrapped in 2020, Jamil leaned into hosting and judging. She joined HBO Max's competition series Legendary, rooted in ballroom culture. Almost immediately, critics called out her lack of connection to the queer, Black, and Latino communities the show was meant to represent. At the height of the criticism, she came out as queer, a revelation many questioned, with the timing viewed as defensive rather than authentic. Her next high-profile acting role came in 2022 with Marvel's She-Hulk, Attorney-at-Law, where she played Titania, a supervillain styled as a social media influencer. The show itself divided fans, with many criticizing its writing, tone, and CGI. Jamil's performance was widely panned as awkward and over-the-top. She fought back online, clapping at critics by accusing them of misogyny and hostility, but the series fizzled, leaving her without a strong fanbase or major roles to follow. Outside of acting, Jamil became best known for her activism, particularly through her I Weigh movement focused on body image and self-worth, but even that wasn't free of controversy. She frequently clashed with celebrities, especially the Kardashians, over issues of diet culture and body shaming. Her approach, often absolutist and scolding, earned her the reputation of being a woke scold. Her credibility also suffered from bizarre personal claims. Over the years, she spoke of multiple car accidents, temporary blindness, extreme allergies, and a string of rare illnesses. Online, a viral theory accused her of exaggerating or fabricating her medical history, suggesting she had Munchausen syndrome. Jamil denied it, blaming the attacks on ableism, but the accusations stuck. Jameela Jamil's career didn't collapse through traditional flops. It stalled because her brand became more about provocation and activism than performance. She found a following online, but in Hollywood, the momentum she gained with The Good Place never carried forward.